A lot of praise given to Dr. Stanley Mogoba this morning and throughout this afternoon. I mean, certainly some of the words that we've been hearing today are often heard at people's memorial services or indeed funerals. And I suppose, lucky for Dr. Mogoba, he was able to himself be in the audience today to hear all of which was being said about him. What else has been said this afternoon?
Definitely, Flo. I think you've just actually summed up what I was just about to say. A lot of praise, has been sung here about the life of the Reverend Dr. Stanley Mogoba. I mean, his role in the fight against apartheid, and not only that, his role in the church. I mean, Flo, you know very well, he is a man of God. And I mean, I think what's so auspicious about this occasion that he is actually here to actually witness this. And as you said, I mean, a lot of praise, is sung about people when they're no more. But luckily, at the age of 88, Reverend Mogoba was actually alive to actually hear, such praise being sung about him. But I'm actually joined by the man of the moment and by his son, and we'll just be talking to him, having a light-hearted conversation. Reverend, thank you so much for joining us on SABC News. It's an honor, it's a privilege to be sitting down with you. I mean, how do you feel, just hearing everything that's been said about you?
It's humbling, actually. You would actually think it's a book I've not read before, because there are so many new things that I've said about me, and so many experiences that are now being recorded in the tributes that we get paid. So yes, indeed, I do think that the many things that were said about me, I think I really am grateful for. And I did not know much about them myself. I had an idea of them, but I didn't have as much knowledge of them as I had today. So I just want to say thank you.
Reverend, let's also talk about, your experiences. You were detained, you were incarcerated for some time at Robben Island, and you went through a lot. And at your deepest and most darkest hours, that was when you met God.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I went through really what very many people have not gone through. I always say, including the fact that on the first night when I was taken from home and I was brought here to Pretoria, and I was pushed into a cell that was dark. Normally cells are lit because we want to see whether the prisoners are there. But in order to make a special welcome for me, they pushed me into a dark cell. I didn't see anything. But fortunately, I had a voice after some time. There were people inside there. And they said, be careful, don't move to the right. There's a bucket, we left a toilet bucket there. Don't move to the, just stand where you are. And it was that sort of introduction to a dark cell. But fortunately, I survived that and got out of that. But I'm trying to say that there were many such experiences, many such experiences in our prisons. Many people don't know what we've gone through. They don't know how apartheid was. They don't know what a prison was. Many people who are in prison today are in a luxury hotel. But prisons were not like that during the apartheid days, the hot days, apartheid days. So we went through all that and survived it.
Reverend, you talk about the experiences of apartheid and what people encountered. You've still got the families of the Boipatong massacre, the Cradock 4, that are still wondering what happened to their families. And we saw the passing of the last apartheid president, F.W. de Klerk. It's an issue that's dividing the nation. Some people are calling for accountability. Some are saying that, yes, he somewhat asked for forgiveness in his last message, but there are those families who are still crying out, wanting justice for their family members. And some say it seems as if he just took those secrets to the grave. I mean, what's your views about this?
my views about them are that, in effect, the fact that he was able to accommodate that Nelson Mandela is something we must actually be grateful for. Because at that time, there were not very many people who would have done that. But he accommodated him, and they were able to talk, and they were able to move forward. So, although many people put the whole apartheid thing on his shoulders, but they don't realize that in that very, very crisis, he was able to try to bring the nation together in his style. So I believe that we don't have to blame him as if he did nothing. Because I remember after it was announced that the prisoners were coming out of Robben Island, I stood there one day in the dark. I couldn't believe it, that indeed prisoners were coming out of Robben Island. So I want to say that for many, I don't think they realize what we've gone through. But of course he could have done more. I think he could have done more, but not from his background. From where he stood and from where he comes from, he couldn't have done more.
And as a man of God, is this where, you somewhat tell the nation that we should forgive, the atrocities of the past?
Yes, I'm not so much a forget those, and try and work together. And the fact that he was able to say prisoners come out of prison, and that was quite a big thing. And I want to commend him for that. Yes.
Reverend, you were the leader of the PAC from 1997. We heard what Ubab Nyonzo had to say about this matter, saying that he doesn't care about the passing of de Klerk, instead he cares about the victims.
Yes, well, he represents the group inside the party that would say that. But we know that, in effect, worse things would have happened. Worse things would have happened. And the fact that he agreed to talk to Dr. Mandela in the end was something that we should be grateful for.
Are you happy with the state of the PAC, the current state of the party right now? I mean, it's been, declining, especially at the polls, and you've just come from the local elections right now.
Yes, I'm not happy with the present state. But I want to say I didn't expect it to perform as well as it did during the 22 seats that it's got. It's quite surprising to me. But I believe that, of course, the great things about the PAC is that is its message. That its message cannot die. In fact, as you can see, most of the parties now go for it. They're talking about land, they're talking about the things that we've long talked about. So that is this message which is important, which many people should take seriously and not fight about it. I believe that the fact that the message of the PAC is actually to unite the nation from Cape, one Africa, from Cape to Cairo, from Malagasy to Morocco, that we have one nation. And very many people even today don't believe that we could have one nation. They don't want to have one nation. So that is a bit difficult to say. But that was the message of the PAC, that we should come together and build one nation.
Before we take this conversation to Mac, your son, do you think, I mean, you've been saying that the message of the PAC is unity, but do you think the party itself would be able to get over, this turbulent time and somewhat unite?
Yes, I mean, I belong to that group of people who spoke to all the parties in the PAC and emphasizing that there is one PAC. There are not two PACs, and I can't support you unless I support the other group as well. So PAC belongs to all. unity of the African people. And many people don't realize that that is the crux of the matter of the PAC, that it is trying to bring together even what cannot be brought together. And it is important that PAC should really unite, not as an individual party over there, but try and bring people together. Even what I was saying about talking to Phiri emphasizes what we talk about, trying to unite. And when I spoke to Phiri quietly, he understood it. And I said, no, multiracialism, we don't even believe in it. We think it's racism multiplied. We belong to one nation, one race, non-racialism. And of course, some of the people in the ANC laughed at that and said, there is no such word in English. It's multiracialism, there's no such thing as non-racialism. So Sobukwe said, if there isn't, well, we'll wait until they see that there should be. There should be a word called non-racial society.
Let me take this conversation to Mac. Mac, you've heard nothing but good things about your father. I mean, just tell us about Reverend Mogoba as your father, not the politician, not the churchman.
Oh, wow. Where do I start? I think he's a man who, as also it was outlined today, of great humility. And that's what he's taught us, that really you are given opportunities, you need to take them. And he is indeed a true father figure. He's and very quiet. In fact, when it comes to even things of discipline and so on, he wants us to really make our own mistakes and grow. But obviously, learn from that and take the wisdom that and the mistakes that also they have undertaken forward. Yeah.
And I mean, as a family, you know, what did you go through when your father went to prison, when you heard these stories? I mean, I read an article somewhere that when your father was incarcerated, your sister had actually passed on and he couldn't bury her. What was that like as a family?
No, these are the things, and as you could see, it does indeed evoke a lot of emotions. I was not born at the time. And indeed, it's one of those that it's hurtful, and I mean, my father could not even go and lay them to rest. So it's those, where, you go to schools and you interact with other people of other cultures and you realize that there is a lot that you've had to overcome. But as you can hear, forgiveness and humility is important, and in order to heal yourself so that you don't carry those burdens. So we've actually had to carry very little of that, except to really remember those hardships and to really take heed and to say that, we have overcome, we are stronger as a family, and we're more loving, and that's what he has embodied with us.
And your sentiments around, the passing of the last apartheid president. I mean, you come from a different generation. I mean, your view on this?
I think, it is indeed bittersweet. I do feel that more could have been done to reveal, not necessarily from the former president, but from also his lieutenants and others who surrounded him. So I think as much as my father is also close to the TRC, there's a lot of other things that indeed should have or can be even held accountable. And we can have, I won't say a commission, but I mean, there is a judiciary, so it also needs to enforce. We know of a number of cases. You mentioned the Craddock, there's the Timor family, there's the Hani. I mean, there are so many families, and my father also speaks of the unsung heroes. When it comes to naming of streets, he says, it shouldn't be about him. It shouldn't be about those that already have been honored. We should really be looking at those who are unsung heroes, who have really lost their lives or given to our liberation and to where we are.
And you're talking about honoring people, honoring stalwarts. I mean, how does it make you feel that, your father is actually being honored while he's alive?
No, it's really gratifying. There's been a number of people who have indeed started this process. Some were mentioned today, Reverend Megwe and the Bishop. And that's why now we're going to start establishing a foundation, so that indeed he can also see not just the proceeds, because there's books, there's other things that need to be reprinted and retold, so that indeed our children and the future generation can have. So we are truly honored as a family, and would like to indeed have this continue. And thank you for your team to be here today.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure just interviewing both of you, and thanks for affording us this opportunity. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I don't know if you have met one of the young leaders of the present PEC.
Okay. No, we will talk to him afterwards. Yes, you will. Well, Flo, there you have it from the Mogoba family, honoring the Reverend while he is still alive. I neither don't want to add or subtract to what they've just said, but of course, they've just summed it up. I guess it's back to you in studio.